Welcome back to On to the Next Thing. I'm Michael, your host, and this is episode 28. Today's date is December 16th, 2025, year of our Lord. And today, this is going to be a fucking doozy. I'm going to try and recall the second chunk of history of my retail work. Yeah, nailed it. Perfect. Good job, dude. Holy shit. All right, so I'm going to need to drop a little bit of background for this one. I'm trying to get better with my recording schedule, obviously. So I'm trying to actually record every, 7 days, give or take, to get onto a weekly podcast schedule, especially before I go back to grad school. When things are gonna really be a shit show. But who knows? Maybe I'll get fired, and then my two purposes in life will be getting a graduate degree that may or may not matter in a couple of years, and podcasting, which is going to matter as my legacy until the end of time. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get back on schedule, back on track. And but in that process, I've run into a bit of a snafu because I had a long day at work, and my illustrious roommate fucked off on a work trip, which meant that I had to do double chores for the old studio, let's say, and yeah, and so that ended up leading to me not defrosting chicken, and because I'm trying to not order out every day, I was like, fuck it, you know what? I'll just roast this giant fucking 1.5-pound chicken breast in the oven, and it'll defrost that way, even though it's frozen solid. It's only been defrosting maybe an hour on the countertop, which, for those of you who know how to cook, does not count for shit when you're defrosting a large piece of meat. And so I basically just spent like an hour and a half just drinking a martini on an empty stomach. Checked the chicken still raw as fuck in the middle. So had to put that back for another half an hour, finished the martini, ate like some leaves of salad and raw onions, and then decided to make another martini in the meantime, and then ate dinner with that, and then was like, oh shit, I have to record a fucking podcast for On to the Next Thing, my copyrighted limited liability corporation podcast. And so that's what I'm doing right now. This is it. This is me. This is me really, really just fucking holding on to the railings here. But you know what? We're going to get through this. And the way we're going to get through this, to start, is with some bird news. Caw. First article is from Yahoo News. Scientists sound alarm after noticing new trend affecting millions of birds. Here's what's happening. This is from Matthew Marini on Sunday, December 14th, 2025 at 11:15 p.m. Damn. Submitting that shit late. This guy's working for the weekend, except he's submitting that shit on a Sunday, so he's working on the weekend at 11:15 at night on a Sunday night. Damn, fuck that guy, am I right? God damn, this is gonna be low quality. Damn, look at those audio peaks. Son of a bitch. Scientists sound alarm after noticing new trend affecting millions of birds. Here's what's happening. That was the subtitle, but it was the exact same thing as the headline. Ooh, Yahoo News has an AI option, generate key takeaways. Let me screenshot that. I'll post on the fucking Instagram later, because that sucks. Let's see if I need the AI tools in order to comprehend this Yahoo News article. Every year, millions of birds migrate thousands of miles from Africa to Europe. Too hard. Summarize for me, AI. Summarize for me. Please, give me easily digestible words and sentences. We're going to start again. Every year, millions of birds migrate thousands of miles from Africa to Europe. This is a massive journey that happens twice a year and depends on timing and the amount of food. However, new research from Durham University and the British Trust for Ornithology shows that birds are struggling to reach their destination. What's happening? A study published on Zenodo. Alright, I trust Zenodo. A study published on Zenodo analyzing 40 years of bird data across 286 sites in Europe found a significant decline in what scientists call migratory fuel loads. Damn, that was a big advertisement. These are the fat stores that birds need to cross difficult regions like the Mediterranean Sea and the Sahara Desert. Researchers examined 33 Afro-Palearctic migratory species and found that birds preparing for their fall migration now carry less weight than in previous years. However, the spring migration did not show the same decline. All this suggests that the changing summer conditions are likely the main factor for the decreased weight of these birds. The study also found that birds in northern Europe are storing energy earlier than usual, while southern birds are doing so later. According to the research team from the British Trust for Ornithology, these trends can make it harder for birds to complete their long journeys and put pressure on their already declining populations. Why is this trend important? Why is this trend important? Migratory birds play a crucial role in maintaining healthy and strong ecosystems. Not only do they control local insect populations through their feeding habits, but they also help disperse seeds and protect crops from pests. If their numbers begin to plummet, the effects would threaten major food systems, increase costs for farmers, and weaken natural environments. If birds continue to struggle to gather enough energy to migrate, many may fail to complete their journey. Hotter summer conditions are to blame for all of this because they reduce the availability and quality of the insects and fruits that birds rely on to build up their fat reserves. Increased heat and drought also dry out habitats, leaving birds struggling to rest. What's being done about bird migration? What's being done about bird migration? You could say what's being done about climate change, which is nothing, but let's see what's being done about bird migration. Conservation groups across Europe are working to protect migratory routes, restoring habitats, and safeguard common stopover sites. And safeguard common stopover sites. As for fighting rising global temperatures altogether, individual efforts can be made every day. Fuck off. By cutting off your reliance on fossil fuel energy and switching to electric or solar alternatives, you help reduce the amount of heat trapping pollution entering our atmosphere. Fuck off. Get TCD's free newsletters for easy tips to save more, waste less, and make smarter. Get the fuck out of here. This is not my fucking fault. Alright, you fucking dickheads. If you made it so all the cars were just fucking electric cars, and then I chose to buy a gas car from like another country, then it would be on me. But this is not on me. This is the only source of transportation you have. Cutting off my reliance on fossil fuel energy. Oh, well, I guess I'll just fucking build fires and boil water. And then maybe me boiling water using a wood stove will generate enough power to charge my phone like 1%. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking assholes at Yahoo News. I did not expect to be this enraged by the first article of Bird News. Let's see if maybe article number 2, aka the last article. Oh my fucking god, it's a New York Times paywalled piece of shit motherfucking article. I'll give you the title because that's all there is. How the pandemic lockdowns changed a song... Let me give you the title because that's all there is. How the pandemic lockdowns changed a songbird's beak. For ecologists, the COVID-19 pandemic has presented a remarkable natural experiment in what can happen to wild animals when humans stay home. Continue reading the app, it's better. No, just let me read the fucking article. Fuck you. Are you kidding me? God damn it. Is there anything else that might be short or interesting? Nope, it's all just birds dying of bird flu. Pennsylvania, dying of bird flu. Wisconsin, dying of bird flu. The Living Desert asks for help. There's one. This one's from KESQ, K-E-S-Q, News Channel 3. Missing birds safely. Oh, they updated it. The birds safely returned. Let's fucking go. Palm Desert, California. Missing bird safely returns to the Living Desert. A bird that managed to escape from the Living Desert last week was returned safely to the zoo, officials announced on Monday. Pilly, a southern ground hornbill, escaped the zoo grounds on Thursday. Staff initially tracked the bird, but due to the steep terrain, couldn't follow its path. It was last seen on Friday near the Boyd Deep Canyon Desert Research Center at the base of the Santa Rosa Mountains. Zoo officials said Pilly was spotted Monday morning at the Reserve Country Club in Indian Wells. It was later spotted a few miles away at the Vintage Country Club, where animal care staff successfully recaptured the hornbill without incident at approximately 9:15 a.m. Quote, I am happy to report that the bird appears healthy and uninjured following its brief adventure, said Alan Monroe, CEO and president of the Living Desert. The 8-year-old male hornbill is currently undergoing veterinary evaluation and will eventually be placed on habitat with the female Mabel. Monroe praised the collaborative effort that led to the bird's safe return. I want to extend my sincere gratitude to our animal care department, whose team worked tirelessly throughout the weekend searching for the bird and coordinating recovery efforts. Their professionalism, persistence, and dedication to animal welfare were exemplary, Monroe said. The Living Desert said it received several reported sightings from community members during the search. Officials thanked the individuals and staff at the Reserve and Vintage Country Clubs, as well as the local media outlets, for sharing information about the bird with the public. The Living Desert is conducting a thorough review of the incident to ensure continued animal safety. Well, that's great. I still don't really know what the Living Desert is. Maybe I'll just Google that real quick. It sounds like some sort of wildlife preserve type of thing where they have like a lot of desert animals. We'll take a look at that. Not loving birds, you stupid fucking piece of shit, Google. Living Desert. Living Desert. Living Desert Zoo? Is that the one? Zoo in Palm Desert, California. Yeah. Living Desert Zoo and Gardens. Yeah, so it's basically just a zoo. Whatever, that's cool. I'm glad they found their bird. That slightly makes up for the loss of content that happens whenever I hit a fucking New York Times paywall. These guys fucking suck. Well, with that, bird news is done. And that means that we're going to go on to the next topic, which is going to be, well, I could pick and choose here. We'll go with a brief review of Training Day. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we'll go with a brief review of Training Day, a 2001 film about a fucking mean cop and a less mean cop, and which doesn't really make a functional difference in the real world, but in this movie it did. Okay, Training Day is a 2001 American crime thriller directed by Antoine Fuqua and written by David Ayer. It stars Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke, and then it has a lot of other celebrities guest starring and other people doing other shit. And it has Snoop Dogg in it, and also Dr. Dre, which I didn't realize. And then it also has Terry Crews in it as a big muscly guy in the Blood neighborhood. And okay, I watched this movie. I did. I'm telling you, I really did, and it definitely didn't totally escape my fucking brain. It's there. I watched it over the course of 2 afternoons. First evening, I was watching it with my roommate, let's say, and they didn't particularly like it, so it turned into something else. Even though I was pretty interested, to be honest, because I'm trying to watch more classic films, and by classic I basically mean any movie that I've heard an influencer around my own age talking about before. And one of these is Training Day, mostly because the influencers I'm talking about are millennials, and millennials fucking love those late 90s, early 2000s action movies. They're like, this stuff is the shit. All right, you got like Training Day. I need to watch so many movies. I need to watch Training Day. I need to watch Heat. I need to watch Traffic. I need to watch The Raid, which I didn't even realize was an Indonesian movie, but I need to watch that one too because it's supposed to be pretty fucking badass. I need to watch fucking The Bone Collector. Now I'm just thinking of Denzel Washington movies. Shit. All right, I don't know anything else. But the point is, is I'm watching this movie as part of a project for myself to watch more films that are good rather than just like horror genre bullshit. Of course, I'm not going to stop watching horror genre bullshit. I actually also watched The Lady in the Yard the other day, and it wasn't that bad. And I might review it more either later this episode or in another episode. But that one was pretty good as well. But it's not exactly, like a classic. It's not going to be a modern classic. So, but that's what Training Day is. So it stars Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke as like the two leads. Denzel Washington plays Alonzo Harris, a veteran LAPD detective in like the narcotics task force. He's basically just like he's possibly one of the most over the top and crazy and insane corrupt ex-cops. Not even corrupt ex-cops, corrupt cops ever put to film. Because normally, in my experience with seeing corrupt cops in media, they're usually just like side characters. Because it's like, oh, it's just a cop who's just in it for the money and stuff. But this film probably puts the most accurate depiction of the gangland style corruption in the LAPD that I've ever seen put on film. Like it's I mean, for context, this is probably like 5 or 6 years after the Rodney King trials, and the trials for Rodney King's what the fuck? The trials. For context, this was around 6 years after the Rodney King beating and subsequent trial of the officers, who I believe were acquitted based on my knowledge of the LA riots. And so this is kind of in the aftermath of that. And so it's basically about this relatively new cop who's like, he's gotten accolades. He does his job really well. His name's Jake Hoyt. He's played by illustrious actor Ethan Hawke. And he's basically training to become a detective in the narcotics division, just like Denzel Washington's character, Alonzo. And the problem is that Jake Hoyt is one of the most naive Los Angeles police officers that I've ever seen in or out of fiction. And he doesn't realize that you need to basically act as like a member of your own gang. Act as though the LAPD is your gang and different parts of LA are your turf. And that you need to both work with criminals and use them to nab other criminals, or just kill them, or just straight up kill people. And Ethan Hawke doesn't really quite understand this. Not even after Alonzo makes him smoke PCP, get him fucked up, and try and basically just blackmail him into the force by being like, hey, you smoked PCP. You're going to get fired from the police force forever if you try and go to the superiors about what we do here. You need to be like part of the crew and like kill a guy and like deal drugs and like do all the stuff that the LAPD probably does in the real world, allegedly. But yeah, it's honestly, in that way, it's a really cool movie. But of course, in around turn of the century fashion, even though it's a movie about kind of heavy subjects, it's a little bit silly, a little bit over the top, a little bit too straightforward, because like Ethan Hawke's character, Jake Hoyt, it's kind of the same issue that I had with fucking Charlie or whatever his name was in Fairy Tale, where the main character, just a clean, strong white boy with a family who he cares about very much, and he just like he doesn't fucking bend at all. Like he is not gonna harm enough. Like he'll smoke the PCP after Alonzo points a gun at his head, sure, but he's not gonna go, and he doesn't go and just kill random people. Like in this movie, I'm not going to talk about details directly related to the plot, but in this movie at one point he goes and decides to just a bare knuckle brawl, two fucking crackheads with knives in an alleyway, and like he doesn't even fucking pull his gun until Alonzo shows up and says like, wow, that was really cool. We weren't really supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be going after big guys, not these random crackheads. And but yeah, no, Jake kicks both the crackheads' asses, and doesn't even use his gun. And it's like it's just he is just a true blue fucking no nonsense guy. Even though he's literally just been drinking and smoking weed and fucking PCP all day, because the joint that was given to him was spiked with PCP, and he maintains his moral he maintains his moral compass throughout the entire movie. I cannot believe it. He manages to protect pretty much every single innocent character from any major harm, and gets off basically scot-free. And yeah, that's kind of like, that's the only thing I have as far as a problem with this movie. It's just it's ends up being such an easy movie. Like you kind of think it's like, oh my god, he's gonna just get broken down, he's gonna become a bastard, just like this other jaded, evil, corrupt cop named Denzel Washington. Who says the N-word in possibly the weirdest way possible. I think it's in a way that only Denzel Washington could say the N-word. I think he actually in the movie at one point tries to get Ethan Hawke to say the N-word, but he definitely doesn't, because that's just not the type of guy Jake Hoyt is. So yeah, I mean it's a good movie. It's got good action, snappy dialogue. King Kong ain't got shit on me. What a great fucking line. That sounds almost improvised. I wouldn't be surprised if it was improvised. I didn't do a lot of research about this, but it could be an improvised line. But yeah, I mean, just kind of a very surprisingly easygoing storyline. And, the characters don't really go through a lot of changes. It's mostly just Ethan Hawke resisting the corruption of his mentor. And that's the movie as far as character development goes. Lots of things happen other than that, but like as far as character development goes, it's mostly just him reaffirming that he's a fucking good cop. God damn it, he's a fucking goddamn good cop. God damn it. 8 out of 10. I'm doing a 10-point system now. Fuck it, that's what we're doing. What else? I guess we'll just do a book review real quick. I've been reading, in order to get a little palate cleanser from the novels and nonfiction books that I've been reading. I've been reading some short stories by oh god damn it, fuck. In order to cleanse my palate of all the novels and nonfiction books I've been reading the short story collection Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. Probably screwed up the pronunciation of Enriquez or Enriquez. Probably Enriquez, dumbass. It is a collection of stories by Mariana Enriquez. Pretty much all set in South America and Argentina. Mariana Enriquez is a newer and also very prominent voice in horror literature, especially coming out of Latin America. And the stories in this book, they aren't the most flashy, like paranormal, ridiculous, over the top paranormal stories, but they make you feel dread, and they're fucking bleak, and the setting is interesting, and the characters each have like their own voice, and it's all very unique and very high quality. But I think overall the theme of each of the stories in this little book is fucking bleak. It's a bleak look at poverty, and particularly in Argentina. It's a bleak look at the generational trauma left over from dictatorships and government corruption, and and civil unrest and things like that in Argentina. And it's a bleak look at kind of the culture there and the cultural clashes and class differences and class conflicts and cultural conflicts in South America. And it's just extremely bleak, but also interesting. You can't stop reading, but you also kind of have to stop reading. Like I'm usually only reading about 2 stories at a time out of this collection, just because they're usually, even if they aren't like the most over the top, in your face intense, they're usually just subtly unnerving in some way, and usually just kind of bleak and nasty to read. Like a lot of nasty things happen to to people and to animals and to in neighborhoods and cultures and things like that. And it's just it's usually each story kind of takes you to a place. Sometimes you're expecting it, sometimes you're not expecting where it's going, but it always draws you in and makes you want to pore over every sentence just to make sure you know what's going on, because all of a sudden something terrible can happen and you don't always know why unless you've been really paying attention. And then sometimes there aren't even any rational reasons for terrible things to happen. It's just kind of a thing that ends up happening coincidentally within the story, and it'll tie in with a theme or something like that. But it's sometimes it can be very abrupt, very sudden, and I guess just like real life. Wow. No, but seriously, it's a very haunting collection of stories, and so yeah, highly recommend if you're into that sort of thing. Speaking of haunting and bleak, I'm going to go on to part 2 of my retail anecdotes. I said, For this podcast episode, I am drinking a Lychee Martini, which is, you got your base spirit, and then you got a little bit of triple sec and a little bit of lychee, which is a type of fruit that women often drink. It's basically just a base spirit, usually vodka, triple sec, and then lychee juice. And then you can add lime if you're feeling that way, but more often, honestly, the blend that I have going here is pretty solid, to be honest. It's helping soothe my throat as I try and talk through the brutal cold of northern North America. But anyway, let's get into the retail stories. So in the last episode, I believe I talked about kind of my initial work that I was doing there, which was primarily bagging groceries and doing shopping carts. And this is where I was basically intersecting with the lowest tier of boomer jobs, which is kind of low tier customer service, bagging groceries, getting shopping carts, just kind of hanging around and doing unskilled work for dog shit pay, and just grinding along. But over time, as I was there for a long time, or not even for a long time, just being there for a year, they started to ask me if I wanted to be a cashier, because they're always running out of cashiers. And there's a good reason for this. That's because being a cashier fucking sucks. It combines, especially in a grocery setting, it combines 3 of the worst aspects of retail, which is customer interaction. You're the first one greeting all the customers. The sacker can just sit there like a fucking golem. Just, I'm gonna fucking put the cans in the bag. I'm gonna put the heavy stuff in first and the light stuff on top, and everything's gonna be fine. And they can just do that. But if you're the cashier, you're like the face of the operation. You gotta go in and you gotta say, hi, how are you? Would you like this type of fucking bag? Would you like this? Would you like that? Oh, you have your own bags. Thanks for not putting them on the conveyor belt earlier. Cool, thank you. And not only do you have to do that, you have to handle money, which is always terrifying because people get real tense if you screw up handling their money. Like, oh my God, you give them the wrong fucking change because no one knows how to do subtraction anymore. They'll fucking murder you. Not really. They're not going to do that usually. Sometimes maybe they would, but probably not. But yeah, they'll get mad. They'll be like, well, where did you learn to count? I'm supposed to have $4.37.5 back. Give me a half penny. I know you have the half pennies in the drawer below. Go give me a fucking half penny. Like, it's fucking annoying. I'm probably better at it now, honestly, because I do a lot of like, little addition and subtraction problems in my day to day, just because I handle more money being an adult with more money. When I was a teenager, I didn't even, like, if I was buying something on my own as a teenager, I didn't give a fuck about the change. I had no concept of the value of money. Money was just something that I had for like a day. And then any other more important money is just going to my savings. Because apparently, allegedly, I had to go to college. And I did, and it was helpful. But yeah, and any petty cash I had, it was just like, that's just my cash for the day. It is probably $20. I don't check how much money I got back in change. Don't give a shit, ever. But it's obviously a lot different when you're a real adult. And so those opposing viewpoints kind of clash together at the cashier level. And the thing is, I had the foresight to see that, I had the foresight, and so I ended up avoiding becoming a cashier until I was almost 18, I believe. I started when I basically just turned 16, just pushing carts, bagging groceries, and I don't think I actually touched a cash register until I was almost 18. I might have actually just been 18. But one thing I wanted to mention, because I believe I missed talking about it last time, was that not only did I have to wear, let me give you a recap of the dress code. Not only did I have to wear like a collared shirt, usually long sleeve. It generally had to be long sleeve. They would sometimes let you do short sleeve in the summer, but they'd be fucking pissy about it. Almost always long sleeve button down. You wear an apron over that. You got to wear long pants, usually nice-ish long pants with a belt. You have to wear, like, shoes with a shine. That's, oh my God. Oh my God. That's a flashback right there. Shoes with a shine. That's part of the dress code. I mean, you had to have fucking dress shoes. And theoretically, either you or someone else had to shine them, so they had a shine. Now, of course, they never checked if the shoes actually had a shine or not. But the point is that shoes, it had to be shoes that could potentially have a shine. So it's dress shoes. And then on top of that, I had to wear a tie. And so that meant that after, a couple months, I was already better at tying a tie than probably like 80% of my male population in my high school, because I literally had to wear a tie every day for work, pretty much. And so usually as a part-time teenager worker, that was like, let's say like 3 or 4 days out of the week, I had to tie a tie, and I just kind of got good at it. And so I accidentally got a very old-fashioned work skill, because honestly, in a lot of fields, I mean, I'm sure in finance and in business, you still have to wear like ties every day. You still have to look fucking spiffy. But in my field, in the sciences, you kind of just have to look generally presentable. Wear the collared shirt, wear like a polo if you're feeling extra bold and casual. But, you very rarely have to wear a tie. I haven't worn a tie for work literally since that retail job. Literally since the grocery store, I have not worn a tie for work in any consistent capacity. So this is me basically dressed as a little office worker in my ill-fitting teenager clothes, because I had a tall and skinny frame at the time, and Yeah, just walking around in the summer heat, pushing shopping carts, sweating, dying, dying in the heat, freezing in the cold. And, but, feeling okay because at least I didn't have to go and handle money and talk to people. But the handling money and talking to people does eventually come up. And that's kind of when things started getting worse. The reason for that is because once you're at the cashier level, they kind of and by they I mean, middle to upper management, basically whoever your supervisors are. That could be just like some assistant or just like an older cashier, or it could be like a full-on manager. And once they identify that you actually have enough brain cells to handle cashier work, that's when they start putting you on to other stuff. And other stuff can mean like, hey, you're responsible enough to work on your own. That means you can go and clean the bathrooms, or you can go sweep the break room, or you can go over and you can take all of the cans out of the recycling machine and take them to our compactor out back. And it's like, oh, cool, more jobs. Some of them are better than others. But some of them weren't. Like, for example, bathroom cleaning, that fucking sucks. But they aren't going to send, they aren't going to send a 75-year-old retiree who's there bagging groceries as part of their tier 3 low-tier boomer job to go back and clean the entire bathroom and, slip on the floor and break a hip. No, they're going to send, like, the nice mid-level intelligence cashier lad to go out there into that bathroom and make it fucking spotless. It was in fact impossible to make the bathroom spotless, but the thing is by the time that you had gotten into a point that you were frustrated, the lines were usually busy enough for you'd come back and be a cashier anyway. And so it's like, on top of already it's sucking to be a cashier, you got more responsibility. But, and, how do I say this? More responsibility does not equal a promotion. That's something that I think that anyone, my age or younger or older, pretty much any adult that's like in the first half of their career needs to understand. More responsibility does not mean a promotion. I found this out at the very young age of probably 17, maybe 18. I had more responsibility than ever, handling cash, talking to customers, greeting customers, making sure to count my shit and put the cash in a fucking little satchel and send that shit to the vault or whatever. It went through a couple of more people and a couple more steps than that, but I'm not trying to give you a step-by-step how to rob a fucking grocery store here, so fuck off with all that. Also, it was like 80 years ago, so I don't remember that shit. But it was more responsibility, but the pay stayed exactly the same. Even though my title was different, I was a cashier rather than a sacker. It's not like I became a manager. I wasn't managing the sacker. The sacker was just another fucking dude hanging out and fucking up my system for bagging by doing their own system for bagging and just kind of being there. So yeah, it honestly wasn't that cool to be moving up in the company like that. I think one moment that really stands out in that era of in that era of my employment there was I was definitely 17 or 18 at this time. I had kind of just started being a cashier. They were also just kind of having me as a odd jobs guy because I was a male, and that meant that I had to go and do odd jobs because they prioritized. Let me hang on. Got to back up a little bit. Let me run you through the thought process here of this company. Essentially, their idea is that women are better at customer service pretty much always. So women are kind of prioritized into becoming cashiers. Like they pushed all the teenage girls and young down on their luck women and even older retiree ladies way harder to become cashiers, because it's like, well, you don't want to go and bag groceries anyway, do you? You want to be a nice cashier. You want to be a nice cashier and smile at the people and and just be nice and be a lady and blah blah blah. And the dress code was different for women. I won't say exactly how, because some people might figure out the exact place that I'm talking about in that case. But the dress code for women was different. They had different colored uniforms and like different, basically a whole different setup. It was kind of crazy how the gender differences were so prominent in this company. But yeah, it's just completely different until you got to the manager level. Once you got to the manager level, then it's like, your uniform is based on your rank. But yeah, like women dress different and were given different jobs. In my entire time that I was at that store, I only ever saw one female person collecting and pushing shopping carts in from the parking lot into the store. And I don't remember her name, but she was just kind of like, she was a special like prodigy. She was a jack of all trades. She did bagging, cashier, carts, janitorial services, everything. Don't remember her name whatsoever. Vaguely remember her face. I remember that she was like, looked significantly stronger than me at the time, because I looked like a little fucking shrimp stick bitch. And yeah. But yeah, she was pushing shopping carts, but she was the only woman I ever saw do that. And they let her do that begrudgingly. Like they only did that when they were desperate. They would rather put like a 70-year-old man out there pushing 600 pounds of shopping carts and turning them up a fucking ramp into the building. They would rather have like a 70-year-old elderly man do that than than a woman in the prime of her life. Absolutely, 100%. That was just how it worked. And it was crazy to see. And I think probably a lot of establishments, especially like older retail places are like that. Like I don't see a lot of women pushing carts at Walmart or at I don't know. Walmart's kind of the only big box store left worth a damn. So like that's the only one I can really think of. But like, yeah, I don't see a lot of women pushing carts there. So I think it's still kind of like that. Retail is one of the few places where it's both. It has to keep up with the technology of the day, like having self-checkout and having more advanced software and things like that for cashiers and the cashier system. But it's also a place where things get kind of pulled back in time as far as values and as far as workplace practices. Where it's like, yeah, women are supposed to be there to smile at the customers, and that's about the extent of the job that they're supposed to do. Well, I guess we'll allow them to handle money. Okay. And then also, and then men can go and do the fucking grunt work and shit. And just go do that stuff, and don't be a wuss. Don't ask for water. Don't ask for water, otherwise we're going to have to give you water for free in the summer, and we're going to be pissed about that. Which, of course, was a thing that happened. Eventually, someone passed out during the summer pushing shopping carts, and I think probably corporate eventually stepped in and was like, hey, we don't want people having lost time because they're dying in the asphalt. Give them water. Hey, what are you going to do? Allegedly. Don't know this for sure. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess in retrospect, it was probably better to cut down some of my time working outside, because that shit did get exhausting, and it probably would have taken years off my joints and potentially my life if I had like passed out and hit my head or whatever. If I had passed out and hit my head hard enough, I probably would have would have been one of the guys pushing shopping carts permanently at the supermarket. Just that's my fucking existence day in and day out. Just a fucking a stalwart figure of the retail experience. The horror. But I think, yeah, probably one of the worst experiences I had while in my kind of early cashier stage, before I got so cynical that I just didn't give a fuck. But after the point where I was just like, I'm just gonna do these easy jobs forever. I remember the day pretty well. It was summer, and it was hot out, but not like brutally hot. It wasn't like a day. It might have not even been a day where they had to give the shopping cart guys water, but I can't remember for sure. But I believe the point is that, yeah, they had enough cashiers going. I was just mostly just kind of a cashier in training at the time, I think. And so I was just bagging, or sacking perhaps. And at a certain point, I got pulled aside and swapped in. And I think probably some older person swapped in. Once again, that interaction between low tier boomer jobs and up and coming starting first children's jobs. And I was pulled aside, and I was told, like, hey, it looks like there's some kind of mess out on the sidewalk outside. And in my head, I'm like, man, that fucking sidewalk, do we really own that sidewalk? And then I thought about it, and I realized that the supermarket and the liquor store and, like, pretty much the whole half of the building complex was all owned by the same retail, or at least by the same real estate owners. So, yeah, we also had to maintain the sidewalks, even though we almost never did that. But when we did, it was usually because something horrible happened, and something had. See, this supermarket was also a major bus stop, and consequently, we'll say, it was also a major hangout for basically all of the people left behind by society, to the extent that you can be left behind by society in the relatively wealthy region that I grew up in. But there is still a good number of people who kind of get left behind. I'm talking about your alcoholics, your drug addicts, your alcoholic drug addicts, your pedophiles, your alcoholic pedophile sex offenders, your regular non-pedophilic sex offenders who are also alcoholics. All those people would hang out along the bus routes, along that nice little opioid line coming up from between. Oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said all of those. Those really identify where I am. Oh fuck, I'm getting doxxed. But yeah, so one of these bus stops was basically right next to the entrance of the grocery store where I was working. And so and it was also directly next to the liquor store. And so you would get various levels of alcoholics coming in and out of both, mostly from the liquor store. But also they would just be sitting around the bench at the bus stop. And this bench was not just for the transients or for alcoholics or for unhoused people, but it was also just a place where all like the old fucked up retail employees would sit around and smoke cigarettes. And this was at a time when people were thinking cigarettes were done for. E-cigs, vapes, Juul pods were, I think they were a little bit, they weren't super popular yet, but like e-cigs were a thing. People were quitting smoking. The truth about smokingtruth.com or whatever fucking thing was in full force, and they were telling people not to smoke, and people were fucking listening. People were fucking listening, I tell you. And so it was weird. It was just a lot of these old holdovers just burning through fucking cigarettes and dumping the butts on the ground and in like the fucking 30-year-old plastic ashtrays next to the benches and shit like that. It was just a disgusting area. And so I should have known it was only a matter of time before someone was just gonna fucking just puke all over the sidewalk and just splash fucking fries and half digested, who the fuck knows, all over the sidewalk. I should have known that would happen, but there was no way I could have known that I was going to be the one who was going to have to go and clean it up. And this was already a pretty horrible prospect. I'm not that squeamish. I clean up gross shit all the time, especially now. I mean, I clean up cat shit from all these feral cats, like the ones that broke my fucking microphone, which is something that I might put that on YouTube Shorts. I got to show you my fucking broken ass microphone stand. But, I deal with gross shit all the time. I worked out in a fucking marsh. I, collected specimens. I've done dissections before. Plenty of gross shit. But there's something singular about having to just like go out with a big mop bucket full of hot water and then a mop and just try and just dilute the fucking vomit and wash it into the sewer system. Just splashing hot water around my fucking dress shoes and trying not to get vomit on the toes. This already terrible situation. Then was even worse. Was that earlier in the day I had noticed that a female person who I knew from my high school was going around in the store, I believe with her parents, but possibly by herself. I don't remember perfectly. But I had been, we'll say, a little bit sweet on this girl in the past. And so I had been kind of looking forward to maybe she'll go through my line and I can bag her groceries and like talk to her a little bit and show her like how cool and fucking responsible I am that I have a job. Maybe I can flash her some dollar bills from the tips I received pushing shopping carts or some shit. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what could have happened? But she had kind of disappeared into the store, and I was kind of glad about that because I was like, damn, I got to go and clean up this vomit. And then once I got the bucket, I think I saw her again, and I think I waved a little bit, and she might have waved back. I don't know. This girl did not give a fuck about me, which is something I found out a little bit later on. But at the time, maybe I had hope, or, it's just, just hoping. Just hoping. Because sometimes hope is, even when you feel like have no hope, sometimes hope can just emerge organically. Like that latent wildfire that took out all those mansions on Malibu Beach. The firefighters thought it was out, and they said, it's all good. And then just took a little bit of wind, and that fire roared into a beautiful furnace that wiped out all those fucking ugly mansions and dropped them into the sea. Allegedly. But in this case, it was me, feeling okay, but like being like, okay, hopefully I won't see her on the way out. Like, hopefully she'll just either stay in the aisles for a while, or she'll go through the checkout so fast and go out the other side of the building, and we won't have to come to terms with what I'm doing right now. But I brought that big bucket of hot mop water, and it was splashing on my shoes, but that's okay because my shoes are already worn down to nubs from the asphalt, from the melting and from the fucking pivoting and grinding on the fucking on the stones that are embedded in the cement on the sidewalk. And but it's still pretty unpleasant, and I was just sloshing this thing around, and I was like, all right, I'll dump it out and see how much of this shit washes into the sewer. And so I dumped out a whole bucket, and I tried to spread it out real good, but I didn't quite get all of it. And I kind of looked around, and there's just like one fucked up looking guy smoking a cigarette over on the bench. I think I actually recall early on when I was bagging, I think I saw like the drunk guy who definitely threw up all over the sidewalk. He was like a guy who just he looked like ill, and he was kind of like swaying on the sidewalk, but I didn't really see what the fuck he was doing. And I don't think I actually saw him puke, but I know it was definitely a guy. He was wearing like a gray crew neck or something like that. Just some poor old alcoholic guy just vomiting his way through the day. Terrible stuff. But yeah, I got through one bucket. Nasty, horrible, fucked up. But it was almost done. I was like, okay, one more bucket will be good. I didn't see the girl. I assumed she had left. And I went and I got another fucking big bucket of soapy hot water. And I was like, this one's going to do it. And then I can just kind of put this shit behind me and repress that memory for the next 5 years or so until I start a podcast about careers and early careers and the futility of trying to have a fucking career. I mean, the hope of having a career, the hope and what you should do to have a career. That's what this podcast is about. And I repressed that memory up until now. But yeah, I brought out that second bucket and I was washing away the vomit and the little bits of fries and things like that the seagulls were trying to pick at, because this was not so far away from the coast where the seagulls weren't going to come in and pick fries out of the puke. And I finished up with that second bucket, and I looked up mid-pour, and there was that girl who already definitely didn't give a fuck about me, but now probably had a active reason to do her best to show that she did not give a fuck about me, because she kind of took one look and I kind of went like, hey, hi. And I don't even think I tried to wave because I had both hands on the fucking puke water bucket. And yeah, she just walked away, and I don't believe we spoke very much for the entire rest of college. High school. I didn't see that bitch in college. That shit was fucking over. Yeah, that was brutal. And that was my reward for deciding that, oh, you know what? I'm confident enough and smart enough and ambitious enough to go and become a cashier. That's what I get. On a slow day, I'm the vomit man. That's it. Yeah, definitely more shit to go from there. This is probably when I was like, like 17 or 18? And I was at that place until I was 21 years old, which is a horrible thing to think about. Now, I did have some jobs in between, and I will get to those eventually because they were pretty interesting. And I also had some other little forays into side hustles that I tried to do that may or may not have turned out well. But I think this wraps up pretty neatly part 2 of the retail experience, aka the retail years, I believe is what I've called it in the title here. Yeah, I'm gonna try and put these out as quickly and subsequently as possible. I'm just gonna go like boom, part 1, which was last week, part 2 this week, part 3 next. Maybe even this week. I might just try and get the next two. Yeah, 2 parts. Let's say. I think I can get another 2 parts out of this little mishmash of tidbits from retail, and that's not even counting all the other fucking jobs that I did in order to get to where I am, which is a semi-successful scientist and a non-successful podcaster. But let's be a little optimistic. I'm an up-and-coming podcaster. I'm an up-and-coming influencer, content creator, comedian, artist, influencer, whatever the other fucking one was. Doesn't matter. There's still a long work history in this little long-form resume that I'm putting out here. But I think, yeah, the main points you should take away from this is in retail, don't have any hope. Second, responsibility does not equal a promotion. And high school's rough. That's about it. Those are three takeaways I want you to take home, kids. That's your homework. Think about that shit. And then your other homework is to listen to the episode again and interact with it and do likes and comments, and also to follow the podcast at OTNT Podcast on Instagram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and more, and YouTube. But you're going to watch this on YouTube, and I haven't quite gotten an RSS feed yet, so YouTube's going to be the place. But yeah, follow it on those places. Drop me a comment or send me an email or a DM or whatever. If you have something you want me to talk about, or if you want to, chew me out for something I said that was wrong, or if Or even better, if you have your own fucking retail stories, send them in. Do that shit. That would be cool. That's more content. More content. It's like me. It's like you being like a mama bird feeding pre-digested content to me, and then me growing up into an even bigger bird and then spitting it back to you. Hope you all liked that metaphor. This has been on to the next thing. I'm Michael, your host. This is going to be heavily edited because I'm heavily intoxicated. And we are signing off. See you next time. Bye-bye.